And listen, who doesn't want to be a metaverse millionaire? Today we're going to be talking about 3 top companies that are building the metaverse and in which investments could yield potential millions, or at least maybe 1,000 or hundreds of thousands. Now before we get started, I want you to kiss the like button with your finger and hit subscribe. I want to thank everyone who helped me reach 100,000 subscribers in just a year, and this year we're going for 250,000. So what is this metaverse that has been trending across the internet? I mean, everyone is talking about the metaverse and the future potential it has to cultivate the next generation of millionaires. Well, the metaverse, experts say, will replace the internet as we know it. So currently when we interact with people via the web, it's on the other side of a smartphone, it's on the other side of your laptop, but what the metaverse will enable you to do is to be inside of the internet versus outside of it as an embodied avatar interacting in a virtual world via a digital space. In fact, the metaverse will be an interconnected virtual reality that reflects the real world. Perhaps the best way to describe the metaverse is through innovations for which you are familiar now. Do you remember Sims? Sims is this virtual reality where you can have an avatar interacting in a digital space. You can make friends, you can build homes, you can have a whole life inside of Sims that's separate and apart from your real life. Or also, you may have heard of Fortnite. I mean, I feel like every boyfriend across the universe has played Fortnite a time or two. In fact, your boyfriend is probably playing Fortnite right now. And through Fortnite, you select your character, what they wear, the different tools that they use throughout the game, and also you interact in a digital world with other users across the country. The metaverse will be similar in that way. Through the metaverse, you'll be able to host meetings, go to work, have bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, even weddings, mixers, happy hours. The metaverse will essentially bring the real world into a digital space. So let's double back to Fortnite, because Tim Sweeney, CEO of Epic Games, which is the producer of Fortnite, which boasts 60 million monthly active users, has stated that the metaverse is $1 trillion opportunity. Okay, trillion with a T. And he says that because so many folks have become accustomed to doing things at home that they used to do in the real world, namely work from home. But then also he mentions how people have become comfortable socially distancing. Now me, I'm an extrovert. I miss going to parties. I miss going to events. I miss hugging people around their neck. But I know that there are some folks who are just like, if I never did that again, every weekend, every other weekend, I would be okay, right? Turn up, avatar, turn up. Now, the metaverse is extremely controversial because there are still a lot of real world things that require our attention and also our focus, like poverty, the wage gap, cancer, HIV, AIDS. There are disparate housing opportunities. There are so many different ways in which we could be solving those problems versus creating an alternate reality. However, even though the metaverse is controversial, the internet was also controversial at one time. There were analysts who were calling the internet the new machinery of domination, an ungovernable world. Say that 3 times fast. The World Wide Web was accessed by dialing in. Do you remember when folks used to dial in? You couldn't use your home phone and the internet. AOL was at the top of its game, and some of you all were on Black Planet. Some of y'all probably still have a page on Black Planet. This was an era where companies like Amazon, Yahoo, and also eBay came of age, right? In the 1990s. But the internet wasn't widely accepted by everyone during that time, right? It was a first mover. It was a new innovation. It was speculative. People weren't sure whether the internet could replace the things that we did in real life. The value of eBay, Google, and Amazon when they first launched ranged from $3 to $94. And now in present day, these companies range in value from $72 to $3,500 at the time of this recording. If you had purchased 500 shares of eBay, Google, or Amazon in the 1990s or early 2000s, your investment would be worth millions of dollars today. If you invested in eBay, your investment will be worth $36,300. If you invested in Google, your investment will be worth $1.45 million. And an Amazon investment would yield a $1.79 million ROI. Of course, there are some companies that did not make it through the internet boom, right? There was pets.com, boo.com, Ask Jeeves, and even Napster. So just like the internet, the metaverse will have companies that will do exponentially well in this next iteration if the metaverse persists, and there will be companies that may go belly up. So it's important for you to do your research. It's important for us to do our research about those companies that have strong balance sheets, effective teams, and are currently producing the type of innovations that draw a direct line to cash flow generation. Let's take a look at 3 companies that I think are doing very well and could have potential to yield a high ROI in the future. Are you ready? First up is Meta, formerly Facebook. Nearly a quarter of the world, not the United States, but the world, logs on to one of Meta's platforms on a daily basis. This includes Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook. Meta platforms are absolutely free, and users volunteer information like their name, their age, their city, their state, their place of birth, but also when folks click on different pictures and videos, they're also volunteering information about their likes. Are you looking at twerk videos? Are you looking at cat and dog videos? Are you looking at listen, financial information videos? What are you looking at? Because every single time you click a button, Facebook, or rather Meta platforms, collects that information to curate content for advertisers looking for people who have your interest. Though users remain active on Meta, the revenue growth for this particular company has decelerated over the years. Now, that doesn't mean that the revenue has gone away. It doesn't mean that revenue has declined. In fact, company revenue increased from $71 billion to $86 billion from 2019 to 2020. Meta platforms is simply looking for ways in which revenue growth can become explosive and also exponential. So not incremental growth, but they want the line, instead of going like this, to go like this. And for them, creating a metaverse, creating community in the metaverse represents that unique opportunity. So what's up? What's next? Mark Zuckerberg said that he will be curating a digital world where people can interact as avatars in a virtual reality that mirrors the real world. One of the first endeavors for Meta may include opening physical stores across the country. The purpose of these physical stores is so that users can begin to interact with the physical products that act as gateways into their metaverse. These products include headsets, augmented virtual reality glasses, or any product needed in order to gain access to this space. The physical store will create a judgment-free zone for people to test out how this new reality will feel once they take it home with. Separately, there's Oculus. Meta platforms also experienced a recent major win. The Oculus app went from being the top 10 in one country to being in the top 5 in 14 countries. Oculus Quest headsets allow users to enter into a virtual world for just a few $100s. You can also place yourself in the center of your own virtual space, whether it be digital workouts or even a concert. And also, these Oculus Quest headsets take Netflix and chill to a whole new level. Instead of looking at the TV, it basically places you inside of an experience while watching a movie. Okay, Oculus, I see you. The long-term goal is to get 1 billion people inside of the metaverse with a $10 billion investment in Meta platform. $10 billion. This is a major endeavor. You already know what your grandma told you, that scared money don't make money. And it appears as though that is Mark's financial philosophy. Now, some analysts are looking at Meta Platform's bold vision, and they're projecting that the price per share will increase from $350 at the time of this recording to $745 per share by year 2025. Now, before we go on to the next company, I have to ask, why did you all let me sit up here and be teaching y'all with one eyelash, holding on with a hope and a prayer? I had to take a little bit of a pause, put that joint back on so that we could talk about companies 2 and 3 without me looking crazy. Now, without further ado, let's go forward with company number 2, NVIDIA. Now, while Meta Platforms presented a compelling visual using 3D graphics about a virtual world, NVIDIA wants to develop the material products that will power the potential of the metaverse, what they call NVIDIA's Omniverse. One of the coolest innovations that NVIDIA has been developing has been the replicator service. And this particular service enables developers to marry the real world with fully synthetic data. Now, it's okay if you don't understand exactly what that means, because Professor Keys is going to explain it to you. Synthetic data is defined as artificial information designed to mimic real-world events in a virtual reality. As the name entails, this service allows for you to develop 3D replicas of real-world places and objects in the real world. For example, NVIDIA Drive simulates a digital world which hosts twins of autonomous driving vehicles that exist in the real world. This allows for developers and innovators to test autonomous driving vehicles in ways in which they couldn't on the road. During these simulations, the vehicles undergo the type of test that would cause human or even monetary loss in the real world. So that could be car crashes or, of course, driving cars with no hands. So being able to do this in a digital space not only provides safety and comfort, but also allows for innovators and also creators to test the limits of their innovations to make sure that when they're placed in the real world, they have simulated almost every scenario that they could think of. NVIDIA wants to be able to empower creators to develop these types of experiences in order to test their innovations in a virtual space before introducing them perhaps in the real world. In fact, the NVIDIA CEO says that eventually he could fetch up to $1,000 a year from digital creators and developers in the virtual world. That is a whole lot of money, right? Where's BIA, right? Where's BIA? There's a whole lot of money in this NVIDIA. Also, the company CEO believes that half of the company's revenue will come from software and the other from chips, which NVIDIA specializes in. At the time of this recording, NVIDIA has a year-to-date return of 135%. Whew. Flip some braids on that one. And NVIDIA is expecting to report up to $7.4 billion in revenue for Q4 2021 at the time of this recording. Price predictions for NVIDIA place it at $650 by 2025. And at the time of this recording, again, NVIDIA is trading around $300 per share. So let's get into the third company. But before we do that, have you kissed the like button with your finger and hit subscribe? Company number 3 is Microsoft. Now, a lot of people do not associate Microsoft with Metaverse, even though both companies begin with M. But just think, what is some of the first software that you interacted with when you first got that gigantic computer that used to sit on your mama's desk? Okay, 90s babies. It probably had Microsoft Office, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Microsoft is a familiar name, and they are leveraging their existing products, specifically Microsoft Teams, in order to tiptoe into what it would take in order to make working from home feel a lot like how it felt to work in the office. Though productivity has been surprisingly effective at home, at least for some of y'all. Now, there's some of y'all be on the clock at home, having relations with Mary Jane, playing Fortnite, taking 4-5 showers, visiting the refrigerator 14 or 15 times. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about your cousin. But for those who have been surprisingly effective at home, Microsoft wants to be able to give you the opportunities that you had in the workplace. So those water cooler conversations, those side eyes across the conference room when your boss says something totally ridiculous, those hallway conversations where folks ask you about your cat, or lunchroom debates about Real Housewives or CNBC, whatever your content of choice is. They want to be able to replicate these same interactions and experiences and networking opportunities inside of products like Microsoft Teams. In fact, Microsoft's step into the metaverse will be a mixed reality experience via Microsoft Mesh. Mesh will build upon Microsoft Teams' current feature Together Mode. With Mesh, you will be able to increase your engagement with your colleagues through leveraging a digital twin. Instead of turning on your camera and people happen to see your bonnet and your crunchy nails, you'll be able to enter into an experience with your digital avatar put together however you want. The whole purpose of Mesh is so that you don't enter into Teams and either see a static picture or a raggedy, not raggedy, or a person who didn't fully prepare themselves to be on camera, right? It also seeks to move interaction outside of just the chat box. At the time of this recording, Microsoft's price per share is trading at about $334 per share, but some analysts predict that Microsoft's price per share could go up to $986 by year 2030. Go ahead, Microsoft, with your bad self. As a new investor, I do not recommend buying shares solely in these three companies. In fact, the smartest investors always make sure that they diversify. And for new investors especially, it's important for you to invest in index funds or exchange-traded funds initially. I highly recommend that you start with SPY, which is the S&P 500 ETF Trust. This allows for you to get exposure to the top 500 publicly traded companies. There's also BTI, which gives you exposure into the total stock market. These types of investments allow for you to own shares or a fraction of a share in high-performing companies that usually do well in and outside of a recession. And they have holdings with major names that you recognize like Home Depot, McDonald's, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and even some of these companies that I've mentioned. In my own portfolio, these three companies represent less than 10% of my overarching investments. So the purpose of this video is just to show you those companies that you should identify in index funds or exchange traded funds in which you invest. Or if you do decide to buy individual shares in these companies, I want you to be cautious enough to not make them 100% of your overarching investment. Yes, the metaverse represents an exceptional opportunity to create and cultivate a new generation of millionaires. But we all know this mantra, or at least we should, that those people who get wealthy over time and not just overnight. Thank you so much for tuning into my YouTube video. We're going to be doing this as a series, you all, okay? We're going to be talking about the metaverse. We're going to be talking about NFTs. We're going to be talking about cryptocurrency and also blockchain technology. So if you want to hear about that, make sure to kiss the like button with your finger and hit subscribe.